Basically, you must have run some of these commands already, but it's just, and I'll be repeating some of the commands in many slides for two reasons. First, to keep it reiterating this common command so that you remember, and second, those commands, the whatever topics I'll be covering in different slides, those commands are needed there as well. So I think you have done all of this. Once you start the container, one thing you can do is, you can give -p. I think in one of the assignment I saw, I think Vishal gave -p. So you can give -p, and then it's a port forwarding. So this is your port of the host, and this is the port of your container. You can give -P also. What this -P, if once you give -P, then you don't have to give any of these. You don't have to give port, host or container port. -P means whatever ports are exposed on the container, whatever ports are there on the container, those will be exposed on the host by default. But I'm using -p, so -p. This means that 8080, in this case, 8080 from local will be forwarded to 8080 on container. So last time when we started the container, we went inside as part of your, we went inside, and then inside we did the wget command or curl command to invoke the Spring Boot service. You could invoke it from outside also, from your host as well. And this is what we'll do. So now if you're using Docker desktop, you could only use, once you start your container with this command, then immediately after starting, you check if this container is running using Docker container ls. If it's running fine, then you can use this command wget or curl on the localhost itself to get from 8080. Now you are running on your localhost, which is the host. Then this port forwarding will come in play, and it will route this 8080 request to the container 8080. But if you're on Docker machine, this command will not work. So on Docker machine, you have to get the IP address of your host. And how do you get the IP address? Using Docker machine env. So this is what I have done here. So if you see Docker container run -d, then -p 8080 I have given, and the image name. And then I do Docker container ls. Then it shows me the container is running. And then I want to know the IP address of the container. So I use Docker machine env. Then it gives me Docker host, and this is the IP address I get. Then what I do is I say wget and paste this IP address, then :8080, then /tips. /tips is where Spring Boot service is running. So once I do that, it gives me the the output of this result of this Spring Boot service. Then I cat it. This is the result I'm expecting, and this is the result I get. So don't worry about the syntax and all of this. This is what I'm sending it from the from a Spring Boot service. Now, so this I did outside the container. So we will be discussing later when we reach Kubernetes, on Kubernetes clusters, various ways of exposing the the service which is inside the Kubernetes cluster to outside world. But for Docker container only, this is one way you can access the service inside the container. So okay, so that's about the thing. So this is the output of what I just showed you. Now last time when we were discussing the Docker file, we discussed two commands, two Docker directives, run and cmd. So I want to explain the difference between run and cmd. The difference between run and cmd is, in the run you can have as many run commands as needed. Those run commands is image build step. For example, you want to you can download something using run, and install using something run. So those are the building steps to the image. And so the run is image build step, that is state of the container after run command will be committed to the image. So if you we will not go into details of this, how image is built, but at very high level, when you are building the image from the Docker file using Docker build command, image is built into layers. So whatever commands initially you have, that's the first layer, then next command is the second layer, and third command is third layer, and so on. So that's how image building works. And this run command it gets executed during image build time and gets written to the Docker image as new layer. This is what we just discussed. Now, what is CMD? So CMD is the command which is executed when container is starting. So it is not part of the image. So for example, the Docker file which you have used, I have used CMD command to start the Spring Boot application. So this is one use case of, this is one place where you can use CMD command for a web application. CMD can start the application, because Docker, when container is starting, I want to start the application also along with that. The command the container executes by default when you launch the build image. So it's just a reiteration of what I said. When container start, or when you launch the image to start the container, this is the command which will execute. Ideally you have one command, but in case you make a mistake and you have multiple commands, then whatever is the last command, Docker will use that. It will ignore the previous command. Sorry for the misspelling. It's the command can be overridden when starting a container with Docker run. So when you see Docker run and you can give other command, then this command which you have given, it can be overridden. So it will use that command. I think we have used in, someone was asking me, so we used a Docker run -d, and then after that we have given command tail -f/dev/null, so that container does not crash. So that would have overridden any command which was in the Docker file of that image. So this is a difference between a run and command. So this is again a reiteration of some of the commands. So if you want to run Docker container in an interactive mode, so you want to see what is happening, then you don't use -d option. So then whenever you start, you can start seeing the logs also, and on one terminal, and when you're on another terminal also through some other application, you're accessing that container, you will see the logs on the console itself. But when you do Control-C here, your container automatically stops. If you want to use, so here we have used -d commands everywhere. Where did that go? Docker container ls. So here I have used -d command. So the reason I have used -d, if I have not have used this -d command, then I will not get this console. The whatever logs I am having, whatever you see in Docker logs, those logs will be appearing here. It's as good as in this application, this container is running on this terminal. And when it's do Control-C, without giving, I don't give -d command, I run this, then I do Control-C, then container will automatically terminate. So -d means detached mode. So once I do detach, it's running in the background, and that's how I can see container is running and do various things with that container. You have seen that if you want to see the container image is running or not on local machine, you can use Docker container ls, or you could use a Docker ps also. This as part of the assignment you have done. So you can log inside the container using Docker container exe -it and give this container ID. How do you get this container ID? Using Docker container ls or Docker ps. So for example, I have given Docker container ls here, Docker container ls, and this is my container ID. So this is a container ID you give to log into the container itself, to go inside the container, like as if you are SSHing into the container. You can stop the container. So Docker stop container, Docker container stop container ID. So let's see, I can stop the container now. So Docker container ls. Now this is a command, Docker container stop, Docker container stop, and you do this, and this container is stopped now. So if I do this container ls, and now there's no container running. Okay. So so these are some of the commands. And now what we'll do is, now you want to publish this command, publish this image. You use Docker build to build that image. Now you want to publish this image to Docker Hub, because Docker Hub is available to everyone, and your company might have subscription to Docker Hub, and they might tell you to publish the image there, or they might be publishing the image there, or the company might have internal repository. So follow the documentation of your internal repository how to log in. But for the Docker Hub, you just say Docker login, and it will automatically log into the, you give the user ID, password, and by default, you are not giving any URL or something. So it will automatically log into hub.docker.com. So what we do is, if you want to see the more detailed documentation, what are the different options and all those things, of while pushing the image to the Docker Hub, then you can follow this link. Now I will do this. So just before this, meeting, what I had done was, so earlier I had pushed one image. So let me show you. So I had this image earlier, 1.0.0, and I had pushed 7 months back, and 23 days back I had pulled it or something, right? And this is the documentation I had given. And now what I did today just before this meeting was, I did this. Where did that go? Sorry. Here. So I have the Docker machine running. So on this terminal also I enabled it. Then I did Docker build tag and I gave the different version 101. It was 100 earlier. It was 100 earlier, and then I get 101, and I am in the same folder where Docker file is. So I give dot. So I build that image with version 101 for me. Now I did Docker login. So this successfully tagged with version 101. You can see with version 101. So then I did Docker login, and I had logged in some time back, so it had saved my credentials. But Docker, you can create a Docker user ID free of cost, and so you can, whatever credentials you create during, your while you are creating your account in Docker, give that credentials here. It will ask for the user ID, password. Give that, and after that it logs you in, and you should get a message login succeeded. Now I am logged into because I have not given any other parameters. So by default it logs into hub, Docker hub.docker.com. Now what I am doing now is, after login is successful, I am pushing this image, Docker push, and this is the image I have given, and I think user ID is needed, and the image and the version. So it was 100 when I'm pushing 101. So it pushes that image and then it gives you, all these logs and everything. And if everything is fine, it just finishes. So now after I push this image, then this is the screen which I had opened it and I did not refresh it. But after I pushed, I could see 101 also here. So you can see few seconds ago. So if I refresh this now also, you could see this 101 is available. Now the consumer of your Docker image have options of using the whatever version. You could use 100 also, they could use 100 also, or they can use 101 as well. So either of both options are there, and you can give documentation for each of these and everything. So those things are possible. So it's still refreshing. So once it loads, then you could see the both versions available. This is the older one which is without refresh. So you can see, right, just 34 minutes ago before this meeting I did that. So and anyone wants to use, they can use this command, Docker push user ID, my user ID. I am the owner of this, and the image name and whatever tag they want, 101 or 100 or whatever, right? So that's about how you push into the Docker Hub. This is the URL, hub.docker.com. Once you go here, it will ask you to log in, and there will be sign in option. If you already have credential, use that sign in option and log in after pushing your images, and then you will be able to see your images. If you don't have a user, then create one and use the same credentials to push your image, and then later check that image here as well. And this will be available to everyone. I think there is a free, because I am not a pro, I have not taken this thing. So in the free, you can use per one private repository. You can't have more than one private repository. This is the repository. If you want to have more than one private repository, you can upgrade, but you can have as many public repository as you want, even in free also. So mine is free, and this is my public repository. Anyone can use this. But generally in your enterprises, you will have the Docker Hub type of system. We call it Docker repository internally. And those internal systems like JFrog is one which companies use. Those will not be visible to anyone else outside, because they will be part of your organization network, or if you're on cloud, then organization VPC or something. So you can go to JFrog. I had not looked at JFrog for a very long time, but you can go to jfrog.org. Okay, JFrog has its own website. Sorry, JFrog. So you can go to JFrog website and they give the free version, and you can, paid also, and they have all sorts of things you can use that. I have used the free version of this, in one of the startups where I had worked. So see this JFrog container registry and all those things are possible. Okay, now going back to this. Again, just a repetition of command, copy paste docker container ls. This is how you see. You can stop the container and you can restart. But if you want to remove the container altogether, you can use docker rm. So let's see that docker rm command also. So this is the so this container is removed now completely. Well, so I could have shown one more thing. If this container was stopped and not removed, right? I stopped it, I did not remove, then I could say docker container ls, then -a. So in -a, it would show me the stopped container also. Now it won't show because I removed this, but we can see if there's anything else. So these are the containers, like I was playing around the Flink and everything. So these containers I started and stopped or things like this. You could see all of those here with -a. If you don't give -a, then you see only the running containers. Docker inspect, you have already seen. So it gives the low level information in your assignment. I think many of you have done it. So it gives low level information and more details about a Docker object. So I have not pasted everything. I have given some of these. I have given the Docker inspect of something, and then some details I am seeing here. There's some commands, some commands you have used, and some commands are repeated and some commands are new here. One is thing, you can use docker build -tag, and you can give no cache. So no cache is whatever it had previously built, it maintains in the cache. So it will, as I said, images are in layers. So, and each, like whatever commands you are giving in your Docker file, so they are building the layers. So let's say you change your Docker file and you keep everything same, only last 2 commands you change. Then if you don't use no cache, if you use this, then what it will do is whatever layers it had built with the commands which are not changed, it will use those layers. And then whatever new commands have been, or the new commands have been added, or the existing last commands have been changed, it will change the new, it will build a new layer only for those and create an image out of that. But if you do no cache, then it will not use any of this. It will build everything afresh. You can use Docker image prune or even Docker image prune -a to remove any image which is not associated with at least one container. So this, sometimes, in your production server also you might be using this, but at least on my desktop, when I was using this a lot, a lot of Docker images I have, downloaded and installed, and eventually I realize I have, hundreds of images, and I am not using those anymore, and I don't need those. So I use Docker image prune to remove all those images. So Docker image ls show the images, like when you say Docker pull and then give the image name from the repository, then that image gets downloaded onto your onto your system, or you build your own local image, like we have built for this application, Spring Boot application, which is only on your laptop and not on the any repository yet. If you don't push it to repository, then those images will also be available using Docker image ls. Basically whatever is on your system, whether it is locally built or whether it is pulled from the repository, all those images you can see using this. Docker container ls we have used many times. This I have explained in detached mode. You can log in inside the container using this command, exe-it means interactive, give the container ID, then -f bin bash or bin sh or whatever. You can use this command, it will log you inside the container. This is a command, this is a reference. You can refer a lot of commands, Docker commands are there. You can see, many commands here. Some of the, it has, I don't know the number here. I think it has 100 or 100, 150 commands. So if some command you are looking for, then, and you want to see the documentation of that command, you can go into this URL and look for that. Some of the commands, good to know commands I have pasted here. For example, if you want to search for some image, so I have given this example here. So if I am searching for, I wanted to search for Apache Spark. What are the Docker container, Docker images are available for Apache Spark. So I say Docker search Apache Spark, and these are the images which are available. Some people might have pushed public repository or something. It's up to me. How do I want to, which one I trust and how do you want to use it? If someone is official image, generally on the, you will see this official, it will say yes. And on the Docker, hub.docker also, on the website also, it will be a batch saying official image or something. So, so this is the way you can search the images. You can pull the image. We have seen that Docker pull image name and you can give the version. If you don't give the version, it will pull the latest image. We have seen Docker image ls command. Alternative command of that is Docker images. So it will show the list of images. Docker run, we have seen various versions of Docker run. You could use Docker ps also. So for example, instead of instead of using Docker container ls, I can use Docker ps. So right now no container is running. So let me run one container. So this is the command. The command I will use from the container. And then once container is running, I can use Docker ps. It's as good as Docker container ls. So I will show you that. And you can give name also. We have not been giving name. Using hyphen name, you can give name. If you don't give, then it will automatically get some random name for you. So and you can see, like you can see Docker container hyphen container ls hyphen a. Same say you can see Docker ps hyphen all. So you can see all the container, even stop containers also. You can stop the container. I think we have done that. I showed you using Docker stop. You can restart a container using Docker restart. You can rename the container. You can say Docker rename old name to new name. This we have seen multiple times. You can go inside the container. This, Docker logs. This was part of the assignment. You want to see the logs in the container. You can say Docker logs and container name. You can remove the container. This is an important command if you want to remove the container as well as the image which is used in the container, or the image of that container. Then you can use Docker RMI container name. It will remove the container along with the image also. This will just remove the container. It will still keep the image. So that's about the Docker reference.